Hello there, welcome to the Ramble review. Today we're talking about Aestheticos, Curse of the Stars. Story here is Hilda is following her father, who was sent to Aphis to find a cure for their king who is ill. She goes there, gets her weapons. Well, she gets knocked out first, and then she gets her weapons, and then she gets knocked out again after facing some guy, and then she wakes up to find out herself in a base, underground base, led by Minerva, who is going against Human, who's like the second faction. Basically, a curse called Aestheticos has affected the city, and everyone is, in a sense, immortal. They just look like purple people, basically. And they don't really need to eat or anything like that. It's basically like living, but not living in a sense. And some people are starting to go even a little crazy, and Minerva is trying to find a solution, and so is Human, but he might be going a little too far, so she's trying to stop him, and so there you got a whole lot of things going on there. That's basically the base plot. You're trying to find your father while helping Minerva, um, trying to stop Human. There is a lot to this game's story. Like, I was surprised how like chunky it is, because besides the main plot, there's a lot to do, to like side stuff. Like, the city has like a class system, and there's like slavery class too, and it's very complicated in a sense. But yeah, there's that. There's also, like, again, like side stuff. You got like a blacksmith who's like a fox lady, and there's a whole story with that. um but there's a lot to learn about the city itself, and how it's like being run, and how everyone feels about it, all while trying to save it all at the same time. Hilda herself is actually quite likable as a character. She's not some annoying girl boss or whatever you might think she would be. But no, she's not super capable and strong. She's still young. She's still learning, and learning from Minerva too. And I'm sorry if I'm messing up any of these names as well, because these names don't kind of roll off the tongue. They don't really roll off the tongue all that well. But yeah, so she's likable, so that's a good thing since you're following her throughout this whole entire game. I won't spoil anything, but there's two endings, and it has to do with getting glory coins, which I'll get into a little bit more. But that is kind of an annoyance. But again, I'll get to it a little more. But yeah, I found the story actually really good in this game. Like, I enjoyed it. Learning how the curse happened, learning why it happened, what caused it, all the drama that's here, and not everyone here is a super duper good guy. The fox lady blacksmith, kind of falls into that. She's like really nice and everything, but there's a little bit more shades to these characters, a little more complex than that, and I like that as well. And everyone was clean cut, good, evil. This People have flaws and make mistakes and so on and so forth. And again, this is a city that kind of runs on a class system with slaves in it too. So yeah, it's kind of weird being in it. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the story. I'm sorry if you hear anything from outside. I had the window open because the freaking steam in the projects won't go off. So I'm sorry for that. Um, but yeah, enjoy the story. I can't believe how chunky it is. Like I said before, you can learn a lot. You don't have to do any of the side stuff to learn more, but it's pretty interesting stuff. There's even like memories you find too. There's like these blue glowing memories that, like, you see like figments of the past of what happened. So it adds a little more touch to just reading a text document. So that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, enjoy the story. The gameplay itself, as you can see, is it's like, I guess you could say it's a Souls like. You don't waste. You do have a stamina bar, but you don't waste it by attacking. You waste it only by dodging, stuff like that. Like, you dodge, roll, whatever. That wastes your stamina. But if you're just straight up just poking with your sword or your spear or whatever, it doesn't waste no stamina. So how it's a little Souls like. There's some stamina control, so you got to think before you roll, basically. As I mentioned, there's weapons, and you get them all from the start. You don't find them or anything. You get them all from the get-go. So it's a sword and shield, a spear, a hammer, a wand, basically. dual daggers, and gauntlets. I'm sorry if I'm missing one, but I don't think I am. But yeah, the gauntlets, they're not punching gauntlets. I kind of wish they were. They're more like they throw like projectile fireballs. So it's like it's not long range, but it's kind of like mid range magic attacks basically. My two favorites were the spear and the gauntlets. Each weapon also has a secondary ability. So like the spear has an attack that you parry. So you parry and you do a devastating counter, and it fucking hurts like crazy. And the gauntlets, you can leave like little bombs around. So if enemies come towards you, they're running to it and just blow up and everything. So those were my two go-tos. I did mess around with everyone else. Like the daggers had like a go and dash move to get in quicker. Um, I think the hammer has like a spinning move, or just you could hold it in for more power attack. I'm trying to remember from my head, but while I messed with the rest, I mainly just stuck to the spear and gauntlet. The combat itself is really satisfying. You feel like you feel the hits. You can't just rush in because again, it's just Souls like. If you do get hit, you feel it, especially in the beginning. So you gotta be a little smart with your attacks and everything. Um, there is an upgrading system in the game. Oh wait, before I go to the upgrade system, you also get you don't start with it, but you do kind of start with it, but it's kind of like a non-elemental attack that you could get this like coin or something. You get them out through the game. There's only one that you have to do like a side mission in order to get, which is the electricity elemental. Basically, these things, it turns any of your weapons that you're using to elemental attacks. So there's non-elemental that you just start with fire, ice, and lightning. I think that's about all of them right there. And while some enemies hurt more with certain elementals, so that's why you wouldn't use it. You can still use any of them to hurt the enemy. It's just, of course, you're not doing as much damage as you could do. But yeah, back to the upgrading. The Fox Lady Blacksmith, she's the one to be upgrading your stuff. As you kill enemies, you gain drops. One is the common drop, which is like some sparkle dust thing that is used for the shop that's in the base as well, and you're upgrading. So like upgrading your weapons attack and so on and so forth. That's going to cost you material, and it's going to cost you basically the currency, which is the sparkle dust thing. So that's important, really important when it comes to that stuff. Also, you can even upgrade your elemental things, so you could do more elemental damage. So that's what's helpful too. And you can also buy armor and everything for defense, which does come handy. It does make a difference. Trust me. I thought it didn't until I started using it more, and I was like, "Why? I'm an idiot. Why didn't I use this before?" But yeah, it does make a difference. There's a shop, like as I mentioned. There you can buy certain materials, which can be pretty expensive. You can find these again, but sometimes you just want to get the material to upgrade what you really want right there and then. So you can do that. This can be expanded by doing a mission for the shopkeep. Um, there's and you can also buy potions like the heal. So yeah, you also have a bar for magic attacks. So like the spear has I guess it's not magical, but it's still like a special attack where you throw it, and when you throw it, it like sucks the enemy with it too. So it's like you throw it, nothing's happening, it sucks the enemy away from you. So that's a good way to get distance and to do a lot of damage, stuff like that. So you could buy a potion to refill that when you need to. Um, there's even potions that you could automatically level up with. Leveling up is mainly for but also these potions like the healing potions and the mana potions and even the leveling up potion. There's plentiful healing potions. That's another thing different is from so it's like it's no like limit either. Like I think how usually in Souls like games, like the real hard ones, you get like 3 healing items, and the only way you can get them back is if you go to like uh a teleport spot or bonfire, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And this is not big. You get I had I think like 20 or 30 at one point. you'll find more than enough that you can just buy, and they're cheap too to buy as well. But yeah, so the healing, you don't have to worry about that too much. But as I said, you do level up. There's a bar you can follow that once you level up, it it levels up your basic stats, so you could choose what you want. So like, health, attack, so on and so forth. And then there's also a talent. The talent points are used you could put for different weapons. So like I said, the special attack where I throw that there's a magic attack with the, I believe is with the gauntlets, that is like a big ice spike that throws the enemy in the air. And there's also even other talent points that you can unlock little special abilities, but sometimes have a handicap. So like, let's say the parry move I talked about, the spear, and now instead of doing the parry, it does like a weird like spin attack and doesn't push them back or like hurt as much, but I guess it's to continue attacking more or something. So that's like the give and take of it. You lose that attack, but you get that. uh you turn these on and off when they feel like it. uh these I didn't really use. You don't really need them that much. I found the more negative things of take away. I mean, but I found the negatives that outweigh the positives it gave. Like just did not care for it. Oh, there's also a thing called the gift of the Nexus, that is basically every chest you open, it goes up a little bit more and more. And the gift that gives you is like permanent stat upgrades. So more health, more attack, more this, more that. There's also some pretty nice costumes which you'll see me changed into, and you get those mainly just from the gift of Nexus. There is the costume I have that's part of the DLC. But like the costume that I'm wearing, like a jacket, is part of the gift of Nexus. So it's worth also looking, exploring, opening chests for that reason. Because no stats, and you also get also items you can equip as well. I forgot to mention, it's also, besides when it comes to arm pieces, also accessories that also increase stats and give you a little bit more abilities and everything. Um, but yes, so that is something you should pay attention to. It's worth trying to find every chest you can. The more you open, the more powerful you become, and you get some nice goodies to boot. This game also is pretty lenient if you're like scared of like Souls-like games. You're like, oh, this is too hard. It's, even though this game does offer a challenge, especially with some of the fights you run into, and you do get hit hard, you do become better, and on and so forth. And the bosses are freaking awesome. You got like a big bird, and some like monster trapped down in a dungeon prison, and others that they are tough, but they're fair as well. I was like on the ropes on some of them. But yeah, dying, only thing that happens is you lose some your sparkling dust currency, but that's not really a big deal because you can get some pretty easily and fast. So it doesn't feel that painful when you die. I will say it does feel painful though. We die over and over and over and over and over again in succession, because money starts going down. But that won't happen too much. I think it happened like once to me because I was being fucking idiot. But yeah, dying's not a big deal as well. And as I mentioned, exploration is worth exploring for the chests, the goodies. There's also side missions, and this is when it gets a little bit confusing on the game's part. The side missions, some of them are not like, there's no like markers in the game. So this is a side mission you have, like you can look at your journal and see what it is, but sometimes you're never sure if you're completely done with it. Sometimes you can tell by how much of the picture is done, but sometimes you'll think the picture is done, but it's not really. And sometimes you need certain items, and the game won't tell you where it is. You just run into it, or you remember it's there. Some people like that type of stuff. Me, I ain't got time for that crap. I use the guide for some of these missions, because I didn't know where the hell I was going. For these side missions, main missions are always straightforward, so don't worry about getting lost if you're just focusing on that. But the side missions, yeah, they're a little confusing. Some of them you can fail. There's even one that you can fail that you just said like yes instead of no, which is stupid because the game doesn't warn you or anything. Um, which kind of also connects to the glory coins I mentioned before. You need about, I think it's 7 or 8 of these in order to get the true ending, and it would suck so much balls if you miss out on the true ending after putting so much time into the game. I suggest you look at a guide to make sure you don't miss it. That's what I did. You can tell when you do a mission, a glory mission, right? Because like a little ping, makes it like a little sound of ping happens, and at the base next to Minerva, the desk, you can see like little coins pop up here and there. After you talk to her or you do one, it should just be there. But yeah, there's like I said, there's one mission that you could miss a coin entirely. I think you're allowed to make like one or two mistakes. But again, some of these missions you don't know. If you kill someone by accident, you're asked out of that fucking coin. If you say no by accident, you're asked out of that coin, which I think is bullshit. That's my main problem with the game right there. Is when it comes to like certain missions, you're just like you're not sure what to do and you don't want to fail by mistake. You might be thinking doing the right thing, but no, you're not. So yeah, like that's like the only really huge negative I have in the game is that the confusing glory coin thing. They should not have done that. It should have just been like you answering yes or no at the end, and you get the good or the bad ending, not this nonsense coin thing that you get totally screwed over, not by your choice at all, but it could happen. Okay, so I talked about the main mission, combat, side quests, upgrading, so on and so forth. Let's see, ramble on about, I guess, the visuals now. One little quick warning is if I was you, lower the music volume down a little bit because it overwhelms the voice acting, and the voice acting here is great. Also, you would want to hear it because the game is pretty story focused. So yeah, go to the game's menu, lower that a little bit. It'll do you good. The next thing I want to talk about are the character designs, which are great. Hilda, of course, is a standout. Her herself is what made me buy the game because I liked her design that much. It was very nice looking. Um, I guess you could say like the game has sort of because when I look at it, it looks kind of like anime-ish in a way. Especially with Hilda, like with how the eyes are and everything. So that's what it reminded me of, and that kind of drew me in more. Thankfully, it did because this is a great game. Um, but yeah, I liked all the designs of the characters, the bosses, like I mentioned before. They're all really nicely designed. There's no like repeats or different colored versions of some crap like that. Um, let's see what. Oh, every area you go to, because you start off with I think four areas, and you can go to whatever order you feel like it. Of course, some if you go to a specific order, it is a little harder because that's what I felt like I did. Like I felt like I went to a little tougher section, but you can still make it through, which I did. Because after I beat that section, I went to a different one, and I just like curb stomped that area. So while you have free space to go to wherever, I think it's the first four open spaces, because after you do that, something happens and it opens even more areas. But yeah, that is that. So like, yeah, you pick wherever you want to go to. But yeah, every area is distinct. Even the other areas are like expansions of the previous areas themselves. So like there's like a cave, but then the one of the areas you unlock later on is like the deeper section of the cave, and it still looks different from that. So you're not seeing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, you have like the caves. You got a underground prison. You got a swamp. You got like a academy for soldiers. It's all visually unique. You never get tired of seeing anything. Also, exploring is not a pain in the ass. Also, going all around and everything, because there are teleport spots that you can use to you unlock in each specific area, and you can use that to get around much faster, which I did a lot of times. I can't remember if touching it respawns enemies or not. I'm sorry. I forgot if that does happen, but I don't think it does. I think something else does that, but I can't remember. Maybe dying does that. But yeah, that's something too. I didn't die a lot in this game. I died maybe like 5 times or something, which isn't a lot with how much time I put into it. But yeah, like a lot of everything's distinct. Everything looks great. All the effects, the cut scenes, use the in-game engine, and it looks great as well. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this is a boss. There's one boss I hate. It's like a golem like boss that you don't really fight in a sense. You gotta do specific things which could screw you over, which that's the only reason I didn't like that boss. But that's just one boss out of many, so it's whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed the visuals, the voice acting. Like I mentioned, it's great. Everyone puts their role in. Um, you get the emotion, especially the more emotional parts of the game. Like you feel it. So yeah, you'll get sucked in by the performances as well. Everything all around is great. There's no real technical issues I ran into. I think I got stuck in a wall or something like once, but besides that, not really. Not a lot of tech issues in this game, thank God. But yeah, that's really it when it comes to like the visuals and such like that, and and the technical stuff. Everything is great. I played this on PS5. Everything's great. I forgot to mention the DLC, which I said I was going to talk about. Um, the DLC itself is, I heard someone say that, oh, it's just the same bosses again, but it's not. It's entirely brand new bosses. Some are pretty damn the hardest one I think was the major one I faced, but the other ones range from it's pretty easy to like it gave a little bit more of a challenge. But these are like the spirits, not the spirits, like it's kind of like the spirits of like past people from the city that like part of legend and are known for stuff. So you learn a little bit more about the city itself, and you fight some of them you help them, but yeah, is it worth the DLC? Worth it? If you want more, challenging boss fights, and they give you items, some that are extremely helpful that make you really powerful. But yeah, you could do that as well. So yeah, I think it's especially now it'd be on sale for like ridiculously cheap. It's totally worth the price. Um I got the game physically, so it just came with the DLC itself. But if you want to buy like digital, the DLC is usually on sale with the game, and it's not like an insane price or anything like that. It's worth it. If you want some more of the game, it's really worth it. You unlock them by there's like some it only unlocks after you reach a certain point in the story. There's like I think it's like an owl or something like that. Some fountain, some like statues you interact with, and you could go in and then fight the boss. After you beat the game, there is a new game plus option, which basically takes everything you have, like a set, key items and everything, but it brings all like the usable items you have, the ones you could put on yourself for like to increase your stats. It keeps that as well, your weapons, so on and so forth. Like basically, you just can't bring key items from the previous gameplay, but your level and everything. And it's supposed to be a little harder too. But I played a little bit New Game Plus. It didn't feel that hard compared to before. But yeah, so that's you can New Game Plus it. You can even face the DLC bosses again and get the items from them again, making yourself even stronger. I've seen people online who have done that. But yeah, they you could do that as well. So there is content after it took me close to 60 hours to beat the game. That's doing basically all the side content, making sure I got the glory coins, and the DLC as well. It took me close to 60 hours to beat the game. But yeah, if you want more, this new game plus option, if you want a little bit more challenge and you want to go through the game again, maybe get the different ending or something like that, because you can make multiple saves and everything. But if you just want to run through it again and just get the other ending that way, then you can do that too. Also, the game does give you a warning before you reach kind of the point of no return in a sense twice, because there's like an event that happens, some kind of night event. I can't remember the specific name of it. But when you activate it, a lot of the side missions are cut, they're gone. So the game does warn you before you do that. You have anything side mission wise you want to take care of, you can go look around, take care of everything, and then come back and talk to Minerva and then activate it. When you activate this event, um, basically everything goes dark, and it's optional harder boss fights that you can find, like just like a boar that you can find during the regular daytime thing, and then when you do that event that causes the nighttime, And I was a giant boar or something like that. So yeah, this optional harder bosses you can get when you do this little nighttime switch. And remember, once you do the nighttime switch, you can't go back. So just be sure you take care of everything you have to take care of that's like side mission related. You also get like very important drops for crafting as well from these harder optional boss fights. So that makes it worth it as well, not just for a challenge. But yeah, and then the second no point of return, the game would just straight out outright tell you, so you sure you want to go? Sure you want to go? Sure you want to go? And if it's yes, then that's it. You go beat the game. Just be sure to save beforehand so you can always go back, because I don't think it starts from there again if you try to reload the file or anything like that. Also, I forgot to mention that say if you don't like where your route is going with your weapons and talents and everything, there is two ways you can get by that. There's an item you can get and buy, I believe, that resets your stat points. That so you could redo your weapons and everything if you're not digging with the weapon you're with. And there's also a character you eventually save that will reset your stats as well. But he's just like he's much later on. So you don't have him by then, you might have the item that can do that if you're not feeling again your path that you're going, which I think is great. Two options to change your mind with your point stats and everything. It's always great. So as you can tell, I really enjoyed this game. I like the story, the characters, especially the lead Hilda. She wasn't annoying or anything, and a really fun combat with a bunch of weapons you can mess around with. And if you're iffy on Souls like, this is still worth your time because it's not as punishing as some of the games in that genre. Like I said, dying, you don't lose that much stuff if you die or anything like that. It's very newcomer friendly, but it still has a challenge to it. So don't think it'd be a cakewalk or anything like that. It's challenging but fair and not like overly brutal like some of the other Souls like games. Fun boss fights, great visuals too. I enjoy the visual, the locations, and of the bosses themselves. Great voice acting, but yeah, all around is a great freaking game. It's wonderful. I really like it. The only negative I mentioned before is some of this a lot of the side missions is kind of confusing how to complete some, especially when you need specific items and you don't know where it's at. There's no waypoints or anything like that when you get side missions. So you kind of gotta like remember or guess in a sense or hope that you run into whatever you need or use a guide. And then they got the glory coin situation that if you fuck up twice or something like that, you lock out the true ending. And with someone like me who put near 60 hours in this game, if I was locked out of the true ending just because I killed something by accident or I said yes instead of no, I would have been livid. So if you want the true ending and don't feel like you waste your time, use a guide at least for the glory coin situation. Use it. So I hope you remember my ramble, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.